How do you take a blank Reaper project and turn it into a song? Well, before the end of this video, you'll know how to set tempo, add MIDI, some scratch drum tracks, some bass, add rhythm guitars, overdub, create some vocals, punch in, punch out, add reverb, EQ, all kinds of effects, all in this video. I'm Keith from No Label, No Producer, No Limits.com. Let's dive right in. So the first thing is, when I start a project up, I don't want to see a bunch of stuff here in my window. So if I see the mixer, I go up to View and get rid of the mixer. If I see the Docker, I go up to View and get rid of the Docker. All I need here is the transport. The first thing, after saving the project, and I've saved this one already, is to set the tempo. So if you have the tempo in mind, you can just hum the song or play a tape or whatever and tap the tempo in. You notice the BPM thingy goes from BPM to tap, so I can just left click on the mouse and set the tempo. If I know the numerical value of the tempo, I can left click, type it in, and hit enter, and it sets the tempo. A couple of buttons here up in the toolbar which are useful to us. The metronome turns on and off here, and then there's a snap to grid. Now with the snap disabled, I can free select. I'm left clicking and dragging to select an area, but it's usually better to have the snap on, and I can select according to the grid lines. The mouse adheres to the grid lines here, and I can select, for instance, one measure. I like to leave a couple of measures at the beginning of a song. I'm going to click twice here in the track control panel and click on the effects button, and let's search for SSD. I've got a couple of free kits from Slate's SSD5. I'll double click on that, and if I go to the Create tab here and double click on one of these kits, one of these free kits, a kit will load up and I will have sounds. If I go to the grooves, I can pick a groove, left click and drag onto the track that I created, and let's pull it back to where we've got a couple of measures of space there, and I've got a groove I can play along to at the tempo I set. Okay, we no longer need the metronome, so we have a 4-bar pattern. I'm going to select this one measure here. I've selected a measure exactly. I'm going to hold down Control, that would be Command on a Mac, left click, and drag. And now I have a count off. 1, 2, let's do 2 measures. I'm going to do it again. So now I have 2 measures of count off. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can go into the song. Okay, so that is the drum track. I'm just going to mouse over the right edge of the drum track and pull it this way. This loops the track, and it will give us something good enough to play along with for now. I'm going to left click here on the track name and call it drums. Let's double click on another spot in the track control panel. Double click on the track name. Label it bass, click on the effects button. By the way, I'm going to move pretty fast here, but if you need to, obviously you can slow down the video or stop and go back to repeat things. I just like to get things done. Let's click on the effects button, and I'm going to type ample in the effects browser and load in ample bass P Lite 2. I picked this one up yesterday. Moto Bass, which is another free bass virtual instrument, started crashing Reaper. So I tried this one. It sounds pretty good. Okay, so that's my bass. I happen to know that the first part of the song is 6 measures. So I'm going to select a 6 measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 measures here. And click up here in the timeline, insert MIDI item. Now I have a blank MIDI item, which is inserted here. And I'm going to double click on the MIDI to open up the MIDI editing window. And so A couple of things here. I have this set to 1/8 notes on the grid. That's going to be useful for us. And I also have snap enabled in the MIDI editor. If I double click here, it creates a note. If I double click again, the note goes away. A trick that works when I have the grid set for 1/8 is that I can draw notes in. So this song starts on an A, and it's A on 8th notes. So let us draw some 8th notes in. I'm going to hold down Alt and Control and left click and drag. And I have 4 8th notes right there. Okay, obviously they're wrong. They're too staccato, but I've got 4 8th notes in there. And that's because I have the grid set at 8th notes. Now I'm going to marquee select these, which means right click and drag over the notes, and there they all are selected. If I mouse over the end of one note, I can left click and drag to the right. And now listen to what I have. Let's take the volume down a little bit. They're still selected, so I can pull the volume down right here. Okay, that sounds a little more natural. They're selected, so I can hold down Control. That would be Command on a Mac. Left click and drag, and I have 4 more. So this pattern goes on for 4 measures. I'm just going to double it up again. And then the final 2 measures are on a D, so I'm going to hold down Control. That would be Command on a Mac. Left click. And drag that up to a D. So now I'm going to click out of the MIDI editor. Now we have this. We have a count off, and then we have this bass line. This pattern repeats, so it's already selected, so I can hit Control or Command on a Mac, left click and drag, and I've doubled it up. Now I happen to know the next pattern is 2 sections of 4 measures, so let's select 4 measures. Make sure the track is selected, timeline, insert, MIDI item. And I've already copied a little section of bass there, so let's just paste it in. I hit home first. And now I can change this. It goes C, D, G. So C, and then select these 4 notes, D, and then G. Back to home. Okay, let's Control A to select everything. That would be Command A on a Mac. Hold down Command or Control, left click and drag. So now I've doubled that pattern up. Let's copy that pattern over. And this second time, I just lose the last 3 notes. Okay, so now I have a little verse part into a little chorus part. I'm going to draw these back so that my drums and bass are equal. And let's get into recording some guitar tracks. And by the way, you notice I turned the bass down a little bit here. This is the volume control. This is the volume for the drums. And the pan control is over here. Drums and bass are panned center for now. Let's record guitar. I'm going to left click twice. And this is how you record arm a track. Get ready to record. Press record. It's quite simple. I'm going to choose mic line number 1. It's already there because my guitar is plugged into input 1 on the interface. So now we need to set levels. I'm going to drag this down so we can see our meters. What we're looking for is maybe an average level of about -18 with peaks no higher than -6. This button is also important here. I'm going to turn record monitoring on so that I can hear what I'm playing. And let's pan this to the left and label it guitar left. Okay, let me grab a pick and a guitar. It's a little hot, so I'm going to call it my interface here. I have it in software. I can set the levels in software. You might be doing this in hardware on your interface or in software. And it looks like it's about all the way down. I can't really go any lower. This is how I would set it here. But But it's okay, I'm not peaking, so let us roll some tracks. I'm going to put the cursor by clicking back at the beginning of the count off. I'm going to right click over the record button and make sure record mode normal is selected. And that just means that, well, it means that it'll start recording as soon as I hit the record button. So let's record some guitar. Okay, that seemed okay to me. Now, I made a mistake on the bass line. So that first note is wrong. That is not an A. So I'm going to select that note. And to the second pattern and do the same thing. By the way, you can select all the notes on one line by right-clicking. And now I can use Control and up, or Command and up to take the bass line to the right point. Okay, no guitar sound yet, but we have the guitar track, the DI anyway. I'm going to left click again and create another guitar track. Click in the track name, label it GTR right. Put it in record ready. We already have the label. We already have the level set. Pan it to the right. And cut another track with some different chord voicings on the guitar. Let me get ready, and here we go. Didn't like that one much. Let's just Control Z out of this. You can Command Z on a Mac and try it again. Messed up that part. I meant to go to a different voicing here. So let us left click and drag, starting here with this different voicing and all the way to the end. And I'm going to right click on the record button and record mode time selection auto punch. That means it will punch in as soon as I get to where the selected part of the song is. Let's listen back and see if I have any mistakes there that I want to correct. Okay, I think there's one part where I was rushing one of these guitars. I'm going to use the solo button. That's the solo button. take a listen, a closer listen. Sounds a little off there, so right here. I'm going to try to fix that on the newer guitar track, but I can go back and punch the old one too if I want to. In fact, let's just have the guitar tracks and the metronome. So I've turned on the metronome, and we'll solo the guitar tracks. And let's see if I can do this. Okay, let's listen back. I'm hitting spacebar to stop record and save the track. That sounds a little tighter to me. Now, I would normally, if I was recording, go back through this whole track and make sure everything is perfectly in sync. Let me instead show you how to audition tracks in Reaper. I've got different takes here, so I can click on this one to listen to the earlier take, and click on this bottom one to listen to the later take. And there's a little glitch there. We'll fix that in a second. So in order to crop these down to the takes that I want, let's say I want the second take. In each case, I'm going to left-click on the take I want, left-click on the take I want while holding down Shift. Hold down Shift, left-click, and left-click. And then Alt-Shift-T. That would be Option-Shift-T on a Mac, and that pairs us down to the takes that we had selected. So we'll take a quick listen. Okay, so that is bad, so let's just drag this over here to the end there. Okay, everything's fine. Let us get some guitar sounds happening now. A pretty cool guitar amp sim, and it's free, called Neural Amp Modeler. By the way, I'm going to turn these tracks down because they will be fairly loud, so I'm going to left-click on a track, hold down Shift, and left-click on another track, and then just drag these volumes down together, a few dB. Now let's add Neural Amp Modeler. Type in Neural. And double-click to bring it up, and I've downloaded some amp sims. Let's see, I like this Natural Rhythm Tighter. Double-click and select an IR, which is a speaker emulation. And let's take a listen to what that sounds like. Okay, there's sound number one. How about the same Neural Amp Modeler on the second guitar, but a different model? Let's try a Marshall. Let's see, what do we got here? High and low. Let's try a lower gain one and select a different IR. Let's try this Mesa. And let's see what we got. That one's not working for some reason. Let's try a different IR. Oh, maybe it's the model. Okay, we'll try. Okay, so here's what we have so far. Okay, let's cut some vocals, shall we? I'm going to double click here, and you probably are getting the procedure by now. And click in the name and label it vocals. Record ready by clicking on the record arm disarm button. Let's plug some headphones in. Now, I'm using the same mic to narrate, so the level's going to be a little off. I'm going to set this for mic line input number 2 because I am in fact plugged into input number 2. And I sing louder than I narrate, so Gina, well that seems okay. Gina. Okay, a little bit hot, but we're okay. I'm going to turn this record monitoring on so I can hear myself, but you will probably hear 2 of me at that point, but I can only hear the 1. Check 1, 2. Okay. Let us cut some tracks. I've got some headphones on, and these are just nonsense lyrics. I haven't written the lyrics yet, so bear with me. So back to record mode normal, and we go. Well, let me get a pitch first. Gina. Okay. Gina, don't you love me? Gina, thinking of me. I forgot the little lyrics that I made, so I hit the space bar to stop, escape, and now I'm going to Control Z and give me a second to think of the lyrics. Jeannie, don't you love me? Ah, there we go. Jeannie, don't you love me? From the stars above me to a higher plane. You don't have to go now. Leave the lights down low now. Stay out of the rain. Yeah, I've been thinking about you lately. Won't you be on my side? Come along for a ride. Okay, double click the space bar. We got a take. Let's take it out of record ready and listen to it. Jeannie, don't you love me? From the stars above me to a higher plane. You don't have to go now. Leave the lights down low now. Stay out of the rain. That's the dumbest lyrics I've ever heard. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a vocal. Let us click on the effects. And by the way, so here's my audio interface. I'm going to call it up. And if I needed to change that level up or down, I would just move this knob up or down to change the recorded level. So let's click on the effects button and re-EQ here. I'm going to enable band 5, which is a high-pass filter. Take some of that low out, cut some of these low mids, and give us a shelf on the high end. And let's hear how that affects the vocal. The fastest way to get better at your home recordings is to have a mentor. I have a program, the Home Recording Mentorship Program. There's a link below the video. Check it out. Jeannie, don't you love me? From the stars above me to a higher plane. You don't have to go now. Leave the lights down low now. Stay out of the rain. Okay, let's add some reverb here. I'm going to type in LEXI, Lexicon, Red Lexicon 2 from Toucan, and this is going to have a whole mess of reverb. Don't have to go now. Leave the lights down low now. Stay out of the rain. Let's hit the mix knob and pull these down a little bit. And just for fun, I'm going to add a delay. I'll type in delay, and let's use this delay with tempo ping pong. And let's see, wet and dry mix. Let's pull the wet mix. No, that's about right. So ping pong width, push it up to maybe 15%, and we'll have a little bit of back and forth bounce. From the stars above me to a higher plane. You don't have to go now. Leave the lights down low now. Stay out of the rain. Okay, I'm going to pull this feedback back. a higher plane. Okay, let's take a listen in the context. This is just for listening pleasure. Don't you love me from the stars above me to a higher plane? You don't have to go now. Leave the lights down low now. Stay out of the rain. Yeah, I've been thinking about you lately. Won't you be on my side? Come along for a ride. So just so that you know, the output wet controls the amount of delay, the output dry controls the dry signal, and then that's going into the lexicon, and we have some mix controls here too. Normally, I don't set up effects on the vocal like this, but that's just so we can listen back to it without barfing. Okay. So let's do something else here. I'm going to pull these guitar tracks in to the end here and pull the vocal track into the end, and let's select all of the music. I got that selected right. Left click up here in the upper left, hold down Shift, left click in the lower right, and now hold down Control or Command on a Mac, left click and drag, and I have doubled up the song. So added another verse chorus thing. Come along for a ride. Genie, don't you love me? Okay, now the first part of Genie got cut off there a little bit. I'm going to turn off Snap and just drag this one vocal out just a little bit so that we can hear the beginning of that. Let's do the same thing to these guitars. Alrighty. So here we go. Don't you love me from the stars above me to a higher plane? You don't have to go now. Leave the lights down low now. Stay out of the rain. Yeah, I've been thinking about you lately. Won't you be on my side? Come along for a ride. Genie, don't you love me? So this is how you do it. This is how you start a song. All of these plugins, by the way, everything that I used here today is free. Neural Amp Modeler is free. The Ample Bass is free. That's the free version. There's an upgrade available. The Stephen Slate drums are free. That's a free kit. There are paid upgrades available, but you can do just fine with these. So this is how you add tracks, edit MIDI. Well, we didn't really edit MIDI. Let's do some of that right now. So let's suppose instead of these drums, I wanted a click count in. So I'm going to right click and marquee drag across all these notes, draw in one note, and look for a click sound by left clicking and dragging it up and down. There's our click. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to delete this one, copy this one over, and now we have, whoops, back to Snap, and now we have a count off. Genie, don't you love me? So that is how to edit MIDI, how to copy MIDI, how to put tracks in record ready, how to overdub, how to punch in and punch out, and add effects like EQ and reverb and delay. So that's Reaper from zero to hero. I'm Keith from No Label, No Producer, NoLimits.com. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.